producer in the back, did I load that video that we can show? Because it's so good. So I put this video on TikTok. So I put that on and I put like some music with it. Didn't say a word. A couple hours later, gone. It had a banner thing on saying this is violating blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not even illegal, people. I mean, it's not, that was crazy. So I sent it to Justin and I was like, look at this. They took it down.
Welcome to the Miracle Plant Podcast, the show that inspires, promotes, and gives you a daily dose of inspiration from the people who have used cannabis to change their lives in extraordinary ways. Here's your host, Justin Benton.
Justin, you made it.
I did. We're in the nick of time, like plenty of time, 20 seconds, I think, and had to swap out cameras, the serial entrepreneur. We live like, with our hair on fire.
Hair on fire. Well, I'm certainly glad you're here. I know there's a lot of interest in this. A lot of people think they understand what hemp is and what CBD oil is and the benefits and the difference between certain people who produce it and others, the plant and all of this. And I'm really interested in the health benefits of it. But before we get into this, I would really like for you to be able to explain to our audience how you got into learning more about hemp and ultimately creating your own company. The story behind it is so powerful. So could you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Just to go back a few years, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, Debbie said, I literally showed up 22 seconds without a camera working and switched the camera out before we went live. And I've been living by the, seat of my pants my whole life. I've been running successful businesses in sales and marketing for 20 years. And that's the lifestyle that I've always known and loved. And I love helping others. And it's been mostly in sales and marketing. And then about 7 years ago, or actually I take back 10 years ago, we had our second child. My first son was born and life was great. We had 2 kids, picket fence, dog, the whole nine, playing a lot of golf, traveling the world. And after a routine visit to the hospital or to the checkup with his doctor, we noticed he kind of lost his ability to talk and speak. I mean, we were playing catch and doing all kinds of stuff. And all of a sudden it had disappeared. Like he kind of went in his own little cocoon. And so us guys, the dads are all like, oh, it's just a stage. He'll grow out of it. No big deal. But my wife trusted her instincts and took him in to get if they're like anything wrong, hearing, something like that. And then I got the phone call that forever changed my life, which is that my son had developed severe autism. And at the time, it was like the biggest gut punch of all. And I didn't know what it meant, didn't know if it was contagious, didn't know if it was hereditary, didn't know if it was something that could be healed or fixed, because he was healthy and then he wasn't. And so, my whole life stopped. Business didn't matter anymore. We all have those moments in life where everything just stops. A lot of us dealt with that 3 years ago. For those that are old enough, dealt with, like 9/11. I mean, there's those moments in your life where everything stops. And so I went on a mission to figure out how I could heal my son, get him healthy again. And fortunately, I was raised holistically. My mom is a natural holistic healer. She's also a school psychologist, very accomplished, worked with kids with on the spectrum or autism. So I flew her out. She agreed that there was an issue. That's when I knew it was really real. And so we cleaned up his diet, which is what I always recommend to everybody. Food is our medicine. You're not being taught this in school. A lot of the doctors, they may have 0 or 1 class when they get their doctorate degree to practice medicine. And no one is teaching us this. Now, I live in the West Coast, so a lot of us on the West Coast are more open to that type of lifestyle, if you will. I know a lot of people can make fun of the West Coast or whatever, but, veggies are good for you, right? And eating your fruits and vegetables are good for you. So that's the first thing we did for my son. Was we cleaned up his diet. We took a food allergy test from a company out of Canada called vitalityanalysis.com. It's about $100. You can send in a piece of your hair, a couple strands, and it'll tell you every single thing in your body on a score of plus 800 to minus 800 to what your body, based on your DNA, your blood, what your body needs for the building blocks to be healthy. Some people are allergic to eggs. Some people are allergic to, peanuts, whatever it is. Whatever issue that you're going through right now, if it's health related, I promise you, the food you're eating, the water you're drinking will either positively impact it or negatively impact it. Everything we eat either helps us or hurts us. And so that was the first thing we did with my son, was to make sure that he had a clean diet. We got food allergies back, food tests back. We ran all the batteries of tests. He had a 99 percentile pesticide, 99 percentile heavy metals. He had been exposed to, external factors that contributed to that. And we live in a very toxic world, folks. We have the dirtiest, most unhealthy food is on the planet, lives here in the United States of America. Our food system is awful. It is the worst. It is full of toxins, full of pesticides, full of refined sugars, processed sugars, words that I can't even pronounce on the back of the box. We have to really stop and think about what we're eating. Look, it's not rocket science. Mm-hmm. If it comes from the earth, if it's a fresh fruit or vegetable, it's good for you, right? If it comes in a box, chances are it's not. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but if you're not healthy or something is wrong or you get a severe diagnosis like we got, step number one, get your food right. And that means you got to understand what you're eating, and you got to go do your own research, and you got to, trust your instincts. So that's what we did. We got my son from severe down to moderate autism, which means we could start to teach him to read and write and communicate and make contact with the world, come back to us. But he still wasn't all the way back. And so I continued to look for ways to solve the problem. There was not a lot of hope. Everyone told me you're just going to have to deal with it. And I wasn't going to deal with that. I knew that I'm his only father, so I was going to do everything I possibly could. I was sitting down one day having breakfast with a buddy of mine, and he said, hey, I was just catching up. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he's a farmer. And he said, hey, have you heard of, I'm making a CBD pen for a buddy of mine, Dr. Preston. And I was like, what's a CBD pen? Is it like a Mont Blanc, or is it like an astronaut pen that writes upside down like Jerry Seinfeld? And because I didn't know what he was talking about, what's CBD? And so he says, no, I guess it's a pen that you like roll on your knees if you have pain or like that. I go, well, that's interesting. Well, why is he talking to you about it? He goes, well, I'm a cannabis farmer, and CBD comes from a strain of cannabis called hemp. And so I was like, look, I was in college, I inhaled, I exhaled, and I had to put it down because I needed to graduate because it was messing with my short-term memory. And I was like, I know plenty about cannabis, and no one on planet Earth has ever told me about CBD, or what's called cannabidiol is really what the word is. Mm-hmm. And so what do we all do when we get new information? We used to go to Google, now we go to AI, but we go to Google, we go to Dr. Google, and I typed in CBD, and first thing I saw was obviously that it came from hemp, which hemp is a type of cannabis that doesn't have the THC, it has the CBD, and it was helping children with epilepsy and seizures. Paige Figi is the mom of Charlotte Figi, who's really the beacon of light. Charlotte was having hundreds of grand mal seizures a week. She was in hospice. She was like 7. She wasn't going to live. And then her mom found a strain that now is called Charlotte's Web, which the Stanley brothers named after her, because she had found the research from Dr. Raphael Mechoulam in 1970 showing that he had a control group, and every single kid that had epilepsy and seizures that he gave CBD to back in the 1970s, every single kid either had a significant reduction or complete disappearance of the seizures. And that was published in 1970.
That's incredible. Back in the 1970s, how was that not blown up so that other people can use that information? Because to my knowledge, I've never heard of that.
Well, and so want to hear a crazy story. So here's the thing. So in my research and finding this out, that's what spawned the idea of, well, if it's helping kids with seizures and epilepsy, which is neurological, maybe by the grace of God, it can help my son. And so I've tried some products on the market. It didn't have the results that I wanted, but I kept digging deeper because it was the best lead that I had. I trusted my instincts. I knew if it was helping the brain, It's the brain that we're trying to solve here. We're trying to reduce inflammation and improve circulation, and we're trying to get the brain to work. Just like eating right, thinking right, drinking water, sleeping, exercise. These are holistic healing. That's what it means. But this plant, I call it the miracle plant, it like shortcuts everything for us. And so the products in the market I was trying didn't work, and I figured out why. It was because they were heating, processing, isolating, using the pharmaceutical model to reduce a beautiful plant full of 500 different compounds down to one. That's not how the plants work. That's not how our bodies are set up to receive plants. Our bodies are set up to receive plants by either eating them or rubbing them on our arm like aloe vera for a sunburn. So when I figured that out, no one else had figured that out. And I was on a mission, obviously, to heal and, heal my son. And so then I grew some of my own hemp in California, totally legal. It was actually, it was legal. George Washington grew hemp, it was a cash crop. Thomas Jefferson grew hemp and said it was a matter of national security and even every farmer that grew hemp back in those days, they had to grow at least 1 acre of hemp on their property as a U.S. law, because the hemp was so important. It could make so many things, so many textiles, paper. Nowadays it can make plastic and batteries and things like that. But in 1937, they made it illegal because there was industrialists that wanted to grow cotton fields and they wanted to chop down trees. And there's a whole nother reason. But anyways, in 2014, it came back completely legal again, as it always should have been. So that was the same time that I grew the hemp for my son. He was at a pumpkin patch having a miserable time. I looked at my wife. He has his hands over his ears. He's kicking and screaming. He's under the bench. All the other kids are picking pumpkins. And I just said, let's try it. And so I just gave her something just like this that I had made that morning, cold pressed hemp. And literally within 30 seconds, he snapped out of it, woke up, and then ran off and picked the pumpkin with his sister. The grandparents were there. Everybody were like, what was that? What did you give him? And that was the first time that I knew for the rest of my life my son was going to be okay. And now he is no longer on the spectrum. He's a baseball stud. He's a musician. He's 10 now. Bats clean up for his baseball team. And so our dreams and our prayers were answered. And so I just decided I was going to pay it forward and teach people about this plant. So much confusion, like you talked about when you opened up, and there shouldn't be. And look, there's been campaigns against it. It's been demonized against it. Even believe it or not, Jesus Christ used cannabis oil in his anointing oil, and they changed the word in 367 AD from cannabosum, which was the original Hebrew text, they made up a word called sweet calamus, which to this day, nobody knows what that is. And so they've been hiding this plant from us for not only decades, but for hundreds and hundreds of years. It dates back 8,000 years in medical journals in the Orient that they were using this plant to help with migraines, to help with pain, aches and pains, to help with inflammation. Today, we see it with people with fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, neuropathy. And you ask me, why have you never heard about that 1970s research with Dr. Raphael Mechoulam? Well, good old Rafi was out here in 2019. And he came on stage in front of CanMed, in front of all the medical leaders and the experts in the industry in Burbank. And he came out to a roaring standing ovation. I was front row with my whole team there, and it was like seeing Mick Jagger in person. And we all clapped and went crazy. And then when he started to talk, he admonished the healthcare system and the medical system. He lives in Israel, or he recently passed away. God bless him, 91. But he said, I gave you this research in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. You had the information. And they buried it. And why do you think they buried that information? You and I both know why. Mm-hmm. Because there wasn't a way for them to make money in our system that off of this plant. As something that I can give you, you could reach out to me and I will send you seeds and videos how you can grow it in your backyard for free. There's no money in us healing ourselves. There's no money in us being healthy. There's a heck of a lot of money of us being sick. And so that's why it hasn't been truth. But when Charlotte's mom, Paige Figi, came out and it was undeniable that this got rid of children's seizures, no longer could the powers that be keep this plant suppressed because it was helping children get rid of seizures. And it helps my son with autism. I've seen it help people with cancer. I've seen it help people with rheumatoid arthritis, neuropathy, fibromyalgia, any autoimmune disease where there's inflammation involved. I have seen miracles. And so I'm so happy to come on, share our story, pay it forward. Our goal is to reach 1 billion people by 2025 about the power of this miracle plant in the raw form. You should be juicing it. You should be eating it. Our goal is to see people as excited about the celery craze or the kale craze. The next one's going to be go to your farmer's market and pick up some fresh raw hemp and eat it and watch what it does for you.
Oh my gosh. I have so many questions. That was extremely powerful. I feel your passion, understandably so. I'm so happy for your family and for your son. Let me just say that. Could you explain, there's a lot of misconceptions about hemp and CBD oil in the way of, well, it's a drug. I don't want to drug my kids and I don't want to take drugs. Explain to us. I mean, I feel like it's the most natural thing ever, right? It's more natural than the pills that people pop. I mean, our country's in a horrible place because of the pills. So when someone says to you, Justin, can you explain to us why this is better for us than a pill or something that we would get from the pharmacist?
Well, here's the thing. Like, here's my simple answer is, when I say the word big pharma, or when I say the words big pharma, what's the first word that pops in your head?
Money.
Okay. Some might say greed. Some might say corrupt. Some might say evil.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, there are good people that work in every industry. And the vast majority of doctors, obviously, who get into practicing medicine, get in for the right reasons because they want to help. And it takes a lot of studying, a lot of work that you got to do to become a doctor, work in the ER for a year in residency and all that. But who's training the doctors? What are we training our doctors? In 1950, when you had an issue or you were feeling under the weather or sick, what happened? 1940s, 1930s. Doctor came to your house.
Yeah.
Doctor knew you. Doctor knew the name of your dog. Doctor knew what you were growing in your fields. Right? We ate off the land. We lived off the land. Food system changed. Pharmaceutical system changed. We still have that same trust, that inherent trust of our doctors. But the problem is, what are the doctors doing to treat us now?
Well, they also, you hit it right on the head, though. See, they're being trained and they're studying and they're learning what they are taught. So it's going to take, like, for instance, if you're a general doctor versus an orthopedic surgeon or something like that, you're going to know what your specific interest is, but not a lot more. That's why I think it's important for us as human beings to be advocates for our own health, because I don't just go to a doctor and believe everything that they say. I do some research for myself. So I think the bigger message here is, I believe in my heart that most physicians, most doctors, most surgeons, and all of them are in it for the right reasons. They want to help people, and they're probably brilliant souls who understand how to get the work done. But you don't know what you don't know. So the education that you're providing, wow. I mean, that's opening up a whole new thing for us to really learn and make our own educated decision on what we should do for our health.
Absolutely. And one of the most beautiful things about our mission to reach 1 billion people by 2025 is that most people come to us for pain, and it can be really bad pain. I'm talking neuropathy. I'm talking you can't stand for 90 seconds. I'm talking shooting nerve pain. We have people with severe back pain, concussions, I've seen it all, cancer. And, but most people come for pain.
Yeah.
When they come for pain and they rub a little oil on, like a little, topical like that, you just rub it on, just like, aloe vera. But
you sent me this, and I've been using it.
Isn't it great?
It is really good. It has like a little bit of like the menthol in it.
Yep.
But then I can smell the actual hemp. And I also have the oil, but I didn't use any of that yet because I want to get a better education on how the other thing is this works. Okay. This is really good. And I was really sore, like from push-ups, and I even rolled it right here. Oh my gosh. It felt so good. I'm like, I just need to have this with me in my purse all the time. And I even rubbed it right there on my neck, and it felt so, so good. What is the difference between, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. Maybe I should just let you roll, but I just feel like there's so many, like when I researched this before, like some of it is, cold pressed, whole plant, broad spectrum. What's the difference between the other spectrum? Like, all of these things I don't understand.
And I'm glad you asked that. It's a great question. And I'm happy we're having this discussion, because now the discussion 5 years ago or 7 years ago would have been when people were asking me about CBD, it was, what is CBD? Will I get high? Now people are kind of understand, well, I won't get high. They get confused between what's the difference between CBD and hemp. Well, hemp is a type of cannabis that doesn't have THC essentially, and that's makes mostly CBD, and that's where we get CBD. And so, most people, now that you're asking me, what's the difference between full spectrum and broad spectrum and isolate? That's kind of the 3 tiers.
Yeah.
Number one, it's 2023. The federal farm bill was passed in 2018, signed into law that absolutely 100% federally hemp is legal as it always should have been. But we still don't have a legal pathway through the FDA. In fact, the FDA, after 5 years, kicked it back to Congress. The Food and Drug Administration has a legal plant like apples and soybeans that they oversee with help of the USDA. The USDA is overseeing us state by state, so it's totally legal. We have all the laws and all that. But the federal government said, well, we can't really make a ruling on it. Why? We all know why, because Big Pharma doesn't have their drugs in place. What if they had it their way, they would make it a Schedule 2, is what they're going to try to do with cannabis, the part with THC, so they can control everything through Big Pharma. So that's what it comes down to. No one is regulating the plant right now. I take that back. The states are regulating the plant. The reason why more people don't have access to it and more people are confused by it, because the FDA will not give us a pathway. Say, like, if you wanted to sell corn in our country, there's a thing that you need to do. And let me tell you, if you were selling a pharmaceutical drug, there's a pathway for that.
Right.
I don't want to go into that, but trust me, the FDA would not exist the way it does if it wasn't for Big Pharma. They swap seats, the jobs. It's a completely incestuous relationship. To answer your question, full spectrum to me means a full spectrum of light like a rainbow, every single color. That is what cold pressed is. It has every single part of that plant in it. No one is regulating that term, so that full spectrum can mean it's got a little bit of CBD, a little bit of CBGA, a little bit of all these different things called cannabinoids, which is what CBD is.
Right.
Full spectrum would mean the whole plant, but unfortunately it's not regulated. The word isn't regulated, so anybody can kind of do whatever they want. Broad spectrum is supposed to mean they cook all the THC off. It's got some CBD and maybe some other things like CBG in it. It's usually kind of a white powdery thing. And when you start heating the plant, eliminating things, taking stuff out, you're not getting the full benefits of the plant. It's just not. The plant has 512 parts to it. You cook it down to 2 parts or 3 parts. What did you have to do to the plant to get that? What kind of chemicals did you have to add? What kind of solvents did you have to use? Why are you getting, it's like, look, you might be a good guitarist or you might be a good violin player, but have you ever seen a symphony? Have you ever seen an orchestra with all 512 pieces coming at you with some?
Oh, that is great.
So that's how the plant works. Our body understands how to eat plants, right? We know when we cook down our broccoli or we cook down our spinach, it doesn't have the same nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
We just cooked out the nutrients, the live enzymes. Those are the things that really our body lights our body up and gives our body that, that boost and really helps our body find what's called homeostasis or balance. So full spectrum is supposed to have everything in it, but who knows? Broad spectrum is not supposed to have any THC whatsoever in it, cooks everything down to 2 or 3 chemicals. And then there's what's called CBD isolate, which they cook it all down to one white powder that looks like it's like pharmaceutical pill. It's, it's not at its full potential at all.
Not even close. Yeah. So on yours, and you call it the miracle plant, and this is the raw relief roll on, which is what I've been using. And it does say on here that it's cold pressed and it's the whole plant, which means it's the whole rainbow and it's the whole plant stem and all, and you're getting all of those nutrients. Now, the other question I have is, for all the different ailments and autoimmune diseases, cancer, all of that, when you say you could grow it in your backyard and eat the plant, does that plant, eating it just like that, is good for all of those autoimmune diseases and cancer and pain and all of that? So it's not like a certain type of hemp or explain that a little more for me.
Yeah, cannabis is the plant. That's the name of the plant. That's what it's called. Hemp, is technically defined as anything less than 0.3% THC. It's an arbitrary number. Basically, it's full of CBD, hardly any THC in it, is really what it comes down to.
And THC is what will make a drug test pop positive.
Correct. And if you find a strain of cannabis that has anything more than 0.3% THC, in our country, we call it marijuana, which is another made-up term. It's a slang term from Mexico that they used to pass the bill in 1937. But to answer your question, cannabis is cannabis. And the only difference is how much THC versus CBD. If there's THC in it, that's called marijuana in our country. If there's CBD mostly in it, that's called hemp. That's it.
Got it.
So if you eat the plant whole, either one. And here's a funny anecdote. Like, we've all seen the movie Cheech and Chong. Maybe if we haven't, go see Cheech and Chong Up Smoke. Super funny. And so he gets pulled over by the cops, and so Chong is over here eating all of the what we call marijuana, which is cannabis with high THC content. And he goes on like this acid trip or whatever. Well, you know what would happen if you ate raw, high THC cannabis? Nothing.
Yeah.
You would get healthy. You have to literally burn the plant.
You have to smoke it, burn it. Okay.
Burn it to turn it into what's called THC Delta 9. So eating the plant, healthy all day long, no high. Find high THC plant called marijuana in our country. Heat it, you'll get high.
Okay.
So, and the last thing I ever wanted to do was get my son high. So I created a raw hemp plant, grew up in my backyard, and we juiced it, and we cold pressed it, just like olive oil. And that's the most powerful healing plant that our world will ever know. And I've seen it over and over again heal people in so many ways. We call it the miracle plant for a reason. We have seen miracles. I see miracles every week. And I love hearing those stories. But again, you put something on TikTok, and I don't even think you said hemp. I don't even know what.
Oh, okay. I want to talk about this. Okay, yes. So you guys, I was, pumped up to have Justin on, get an education. I'm all about learning. I mean, let's not judge things until we understand what we're judging. So anyway, I've also been reading about it. Let's give a shout out to Ken Walls, because he is our connection. I heard Justin Benton on the Grow Live Academy speak, and I knew I needed to have him on my show. So thank you to Ken, and thank you, Justin, for being here again. But I put a little thing showing the beautiful presentation that he sent these to me as a sample for me to try. And it was like, oh, I loved the packaging. I love details. And it was just so amazing. Lynn, producer in the back, did I load that video that we can show? Because it's so good. So I put this video on TikTok. So I put that on, and I put like some music with it. Didn't say a word. A couple hours later, gone. It had a banner thing on saying this is violating blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not even illegal, people. I mean, it's not, that was crazy. So I sent it to Justin, and I was like, look at this. They took it down.
You didn't say anything, and they took it down.
They took it down. I was like, nixed. I was like, oh my gosh, I got in trouble. I didn't even do anything wrong. Kelly Prater asked, what is the most effective way to use it to calm the nervous system, digest, skin? So yeah. If there's a complicated, complex issue, like the topicals are really meant for pain. It's meant for pain, skin irritation, bug bites, rashes, scratches, cold sores. Anything that's off with your skin. So sunburn, bites, whatever. Hopefully you don't have dog bites, but bug bites. It'll help with dog bites too. But it's only can go skin deep, right? So if you have a severe issue like a nervous system or autoimmune disease or some stuff's off, you want to hold the oil under your tongue. And so what you do is you give it a good shake like that. Okay. And then we always say start with half a dropper, which is like about that much. And you squirt it under your tongue, and you hold it there for 5 minutes. It takes a little. In 5 minutes, Justin will be back to talk.
Which is great for relationships because you can't talk. It's like really helping out. It's like some, really therapy.
Shut him up for 5.
Exactly. And so, but when you hold it under your tongue for 5 minutes, you have sublingual glands that go directly into your bloodstream, bypassing digestion. Anything that goes through digestion gets broken down by stomach acid, liver, kidney. That's what it's supposed to do. You do not want to break this down. You want it to go directly into your bloodstream. If you hold it up to 7 minutes under your tongue, you can get up to 70% absorption. Anything that goes through digestion usually gets absorption rate around 5 to 10%. That's why baseball players chew tobacco there. It goes right into the blood, right into the JAG system. So that's why sublingual oils are so powerful. We have glands, sublingual glands that go right into the blood. So once you've got it into your bloodstream, now it can go around and find those issues, find those nerve damage. And it helps repair nerves. It helps regenerate nerves, which is what it did with my son. Whether it's brain nerves, neurotransmitters, or whether it's the nerves in your feet, it helps regenerate nerves. And so that's what will get into your nervous system and help. It also goes into what your body's called an endocannabinoid system, which balances, it's the puppet master for all the 9 major systems in your body. So the puppet master, which is called the endocannabinoid system, gets that cannabinoid, which is called cannabidiol, or we call it CBD, and it helps balance all systems. That's why we'll see people come in and they'll say, they came in for back pain. Oh, my back feels so much better. Thanks so much. I need some more. And then we give them some more. And then they come back the next week and say, I'm feeling so much better. I don't really need much more, but I love to have it around. It makes me feel better for other reasons. He says, oh, by the way, I wanted to let you know, I went in to my doctor and he said my blood sugar levels are as low as they've ever been. And I told him that I was taking CBD and he just couldn't believe me. He thought we had the wrong charts. Wow. Because this plant helps regulate all systems. I've seen it with thyroids. I've seen it with blood sugar. I've seen it with blood pressure. Like, here's the crazy one, right? Because it helps our body regulate, just like eating healthy. That helps our body find homeostasis. When you're 7 years old and you get a scratch, you wake up in the morning and the scratch is gone, that's because your body's healthy and ready to go. As we get older, things happen. Plus, when we eat a bunch of toxins and crappy food and crappy water and crappy air, it's like it only can take so much. And really, the biggest issue we have is food and water. Food is awful here. You have choices. You can buy organic. You can eat fruits and vegetables. Our water, terrible. You should be drinking distilled natural water, reverse osmosis. Get away from the tap. It's scary. Even some of the bottled water is just recycled tap water that's not even any good. So you really need to do your research on water. If you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces of water every single day. We are the most dehydrated country in civilized world. You need to drink more water. And sorry, soda doesn't count. It needs to be. If anybody did, if you learned anything from me today, if you eat more fruits and vegetables that are organic and drink more water, do it for a week and let me know. I promise you, your skin will look better. You'll feel better. You'll sleep better. You'll have less pain. You'll have less grogginess, less brain fog. We have been sold a bad bill of goods here, folks, in our country. We have crappy food. We have crappy water, period. No one's protecting you. Food and Drug Administration is allowing us like high fructose corn syrup. They won't even sell that in Russia. They let that food sit on the border when we tried to send it over for aid back in the day. If you go to France and you look at what's in a cookie, it's called milk, it's called eggs, it's called sugar, it's called flour. Go pick up a package of cookies at your grocery store, and I challenge you to be able to pronounce 4 of the words on the back of that. We have a toxic food system here, folks. So time to wake up. I'm the one telling it to you. If you needed to hear it. And maybe you already knew it. Eat things that came out of the ground. More of those things.
Well, what about, okay, so, gosh, I have a lot of questions, but what about like kids or adults that have ADHD or, I guess they call it ADHD now. ADD is like a nothing thing. But like ADHD or behavioral issues, is this something, because it's connected into the nervous system, can help maybe balance that out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, so ADHD is now considered on the spectrum. Autism's on the severe side. Asperger's is in the middle, and ADHD is on the other side. So again, what is happening? So first thing is, like, a diagnosis in our country really just means, I get prescribed pills. So I don't even really believe in diagnoses. When I was a kid, they didn't call me, ADHD. They called me hyperactive. I was all over the place, right? So if they give you a label, it's so they can write you a prescription. And that's my opinion. And at the end of the day, if something isn't quite right, like with my son, we had to get his food right. We had to get his water right. And we used this miracle plant. That was the missing ingredient for him. Will it help? Yes, because it's going to help balance all things. We also have another one that's called CBGA. And the G stands for cannabidiol. And we're seeing people that use that for ADHD. It really helps with focus. It comes from the same plant, but this hemp plant has higher levels of CBGA. So we have a product called Boost X, which has higher CBGA, which really helps people with focus. Anything that's wrong with you right now, any health ailment that you have right now, I promise you there's a plant out there that will help you. that will
Well,
heal.
Justin, what about, like, for instance, okay, what's the difference between, there's a lot of different companies that are popping up all over the place, getting on the CBD train. And how do the people know? I mean, hopefully anyone that's interested in this will go to your website with your products, which you have written on here, a different .org.
Well, that's a special deal that I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to get. Basically, our products usually retail for around $70. We're a .org. We work with so many great organizations. But for this particular one, if you go to shaysoil.org, we're giving you like all of our best sellers. And the trick is that you can sign up for a monthly and you can cancel anytime. And you can get all of our best sellers, 5 products that would retail for like $400 for like 137. There it is.
A believer.
Yeah. So if you want to, like, you really want to dive in, that's the way to dive in. Or you can just go to 101hemp.org or 101cbd.org. They're all the same.
Yeah. But what else? I want to know, what is the difference between how you produce? I know you said like cold press, that's huge, and using the full plant. Mm-hmm. Just so I understand correctly and our audience understands correctly. Hey, Pat. Let's say, wait a minute. Hey to Justin and Debbie. Justin, I'm suffering from DAD, which means that I eat the leftover crust from everyone's grilled cheese sandwiches. He's hilarious.
He's so funny.
Yes. Kelly Prater says, my son has Asperger's and we've been to multiple physicians, pediatricians, psychologists, therapists, and none have ever mentioned anything natural. It's a sad state of affairs.
Yep. And it's not their fault. They don't know. They weren't trained. Out here in the West Coast, they're starting to understand a little bit more. We've talked to a lot of doctors. We work with a lot of different medical organizations out there and train them about the endocannabinoid system and this plant. And they'll tell you straight up. I mean, the doctors, they don't know how to treat Asperger's. They don't know what's going to actually work. And Kelly,
who just said that, is a nurse.
Yeah.
And she has studied incessantly how to help her son. And I mean, if this were your son, obviously you've done this and you've brought him back from the depths of, a horrible autism diagnosis. So if she were to use it for him, would she be able to go on your website and be able to read about each one and educate herself on what would be best for him?
Yeah. I mean, usually for kids, especially, my son's 10 now, but we usually recommend starting off with it's good 800 milligram, which is almost all of ours start out at 800, especially at 101hemp.org. So it's 800 milligrams. You still start with half of a drop, or if they're super young, they're not going to hold it under their tongue. You might need to put it in a juice or something like that. Obviously, you're going to need to put more because not as much is going to get absorbed when it goes through digestion. But starting off with a half a dropper to a whole dropper, if you can do it orally, great. If not, start off with a little bit more in the juice and do it twice a day.
I was going to ask how often. So say he's 17. Yep. So say twice a day, 800 milligrams per dose.
Yep. That's kind of anyone. If you're over 100 pounds, that's really kind of a place to start. And if you want to start for less than that, start with less than that.
Okay.
But you might over time want to try more. If you see some positive results, try more. And maybe you try even a little bit more and you're not seeing a difference, then go back. Everyone's bodies are different. It's just
exactly. I get it. I mean, that makes total sense. Everyone's different. We're all unique in it. But what do you think? Okay, so do any of your products cause or would have a positive drug test?
So because our plants come from hemp and they're less than 0.3% THC, which is what hemp is it possible? It's certainly possible because a lot of people will come to us with severe issues. And we're talking like cancer. So we have much, much stronger products like 3,200 milligrams, 6,400 milligrams. And they're taking a lot of it because they're fighting for their life. And the last thing they care about is maybe coming up hot on a THC test. So
right.
It's certainly, is it possible? Yes. There's trace amounts in there. Yes. But there's also, even when you're looking for a THC test, there's a buffer. I think it's like 0.002 nanomilliliters or whatever. And most doctors are not doctors, but most employers get it. Some states like Nevada and New York, you cannot test for it. Some things like, hospitals or pilots, it hasn't hit for them yet. So if you're super worried about it, yes, there's a possibility. Then I always say, then start with the topical, because you're not going to cross the blood barrier or anything like that. But it's an individual decision, and if you're super worried about it, then do a topical, and that's when you would do what's called the broad spectrum, which they cook all the THC off and all that.
Yeah. So let's just get real with this, though. There are drug tests that that show, like when people are getting tested for drugs, like some of the ADHD medicine pops off as a illegal substance. Okay. And I've seen it happen time and time again. So you would have to prove that this is what I'm taking. And then they're like, oh yeah, that shows positive on a drug test. You're cleared. So what type of response are you getting from doctors getting on board with this type of thing so that they could vouch for, hey, this is what they're taking and this is natural, more natural than any other pill you could ever be taking? What kind of response are you getting from physicians, Justin?
Well, in the beginning, it used to be there's not enough research, which is not true. That's just a talking point that they were told by their drug rep. If you go to a place called pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov, every published research has been there for the last, I don't even know how many, 50 years. All you have to do is in the search box on the top, these were all peer-reviewed published articles are from. All the doctors, all the medicine, all the scientists, all the researchers have to publish their articles. And you type on the top CBDA, which is raw CBD, CBDA, and you put space and then put in anything. Put in autism, put in rheumatoid arthritis, put in cancer. Watch what pops up. It's all there. It's been there for hundreds of years. The research is there. You've just been lied to. So it was a talking point. So that was their talking point before. Now, out here on the West Coast, especially where we are, the talking point is, well, it can't hurt. So going from not enough research to, well, can't hurt. That's what we hear mostly. And for those that took the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm, that's what this plant is all about. It does no harm.
What about
drugs do harm? Plants over pills.
What did the doctor say that was doctoring and diagnosed your son? Did you follow up with that doctor or doctors and let them know what you did and what helped your son?
Fortunately, we got lucky. We have a really cool doctor here. I'm in Ventura, California, and his son had autism, and we sought him out. And so, yeah, we kept him in the loop, and we gave him access to our products and to give it away to all of his patients as well. And so, yeah, I mean, we paid it forward to him and helped educate him, and he was on board and loves our products. And I think he still refers people to us out here in Ventura. And so, again, California is a little bit different, I guess, you know what I mean? And I never even thought about it. Like some people in other states, they're like worried about all kinds of stuff. Like, what are the teachers going to think? Mother-in-law. All I cared about was my son being healthy.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
You did the right thing. And now you're educating all of us so we understand the truth as well. So thank you for that. What, what type of communication do you have on your website with people who are shopping and may have questions? Is there a place where people can ask specific questions and someone gets back with them?
Yeah, we have a chat on all the websites.
Okay.
But you can hit me up, on all the normal things. Facebook Messenger seems to be a pretty good way for people to talk to me. Yeah. But it's the proof's in the pudding. You know what I mean? It's a plant. It does no harm. It's cold pressed. Just try it. A lot of people, and we have some, there's some promotions that we were on. If you get on, you can have like free plus shipping offers and stuff like that. And that's what I like for like when people come in with pain and you put it on like you had, and it works, and you're like, okay, well, cool. And you talked earlier about like taking control of your health. So if I took a pill that helped with pain, what else can I do? Can I eat a salad instead of a hamburger? Mm-hmm. Can I drink some more water today instead of coffee? Mm-hmm. Can I go for a 20-minute walk in the morning? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Can I make sure that I have a good sleep routine, that I can actually get 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep? Can I be mindfulness? Can I practice? Can I listen to podcasts or read books or surround myself with people that are uplifting, supporting, and raising the vibe? These are all things of holistic healing, heart, body, and soul. And so taking a little plant and seeing that it can work is like opening Pandora's box or taking the red pill at, Alice in Wonderland or the Matrix now these days. And it opens up the possibilities to people truly taking control of their health. And that's what our ultimate goal is, because you're the one that has to take responsibility for your health. Do not give it to someone else. Just like you said when you were doing your own research, do your own research. It's out there. We live in the information age. It is out there. The research is out there. Find a support team, find health practitioners that believe in you, that have similar shared philosophies of you. There is no one right way. There is the right way for you, your body, your family. It's up to you to find that right way. And if eating whole plants and natural plants makes more sense to you than popping pills that have side effects, then that's
the other thing I was going to say. All the other medication, okay, it has a slew of side effects. And this has not, anything that I've ever read, it doesn't have side effects, because it's like eating a broccoli stalk or a stalk of celery. I mean, it really is. It makes sense to me. It just does. First of all, what does your shirt say? Who is John?
Who is John Galt? It's an inside joke. I'm in the Russell Brunson world.
Okay.
So if anyone's read, what's the book? Atlas Shrugged. It's a joke.
And speaking of books, just real quick, and we're not talking about this, but I did see it on that you have this book, and it is not a cheap book. It must be like the Bible. It's like thick and hardback, but it is. Did you wrote this with other people? And it has everything to do with marketing, right?
Marketing, digital marketing,
AI.
So AI big time. So when COVID hit, right, we had, multiple stores and we were working in chiropractors and going international, then the whole world shut down. And so everybody got conditioned to buy online, right? We shopped at Amazon before, but nothing like we used to. We weren't using Uber Eats and Grubhub. We weren't getting groceries delivered to our front door.
No.
We are now. Where do we shop? The average American, they said of all the Americans, 17% shopped online first for all those things before March of 2020. And now that number is closer to 65%. So if you're not selling online, you're like missing out. You have to sell online. Look, we're online right now talking.
That's right.
So that's when I got into Russell Brunson's world. He's the guy that did ClickFunnels. We wrote the book together and we partnered up on some really cool stuff. So I had to become a digital marketing expert. And that's when I dove down that rabbit hole. And that's the inside joke about Who's John Galt.
I got it. That was a segue to the book, apparently. That's awesome. But, there's a skin line. There's a skin line that helps with what?
So it's Raw Renew. It was actually developed for eczema and psoriasis, but we started seeing help with age spots and wrinkles, and we started seeing help with bug bites and rashes and like everything. And so it started getting gobbled up like crazy once people started seeing that it could really rejuvenate your skin. So it's really meant for, it's a skin rejuvenation cream. It doesn't have the menthol in it, so you can get it closer to your eyes.
Okay.
And
that's where I need it. That's where I need it. I'm going to have to get a vat of that. Just dipping.
Yes. And it's amazing. Even for sunburn, I've seen people as red as ever. I was down in Mexico for a mastermind and I walked up to a buddy of mine and I was like, dude, you need this. And I had some samples because I knew everyone was going to be sunburned. And he put it on. And I said, the next morning, I said, hey, man, how'd it work? He goes, dude, that's unbelievable. I don't even have a sunburn anymore, man. That's crazy. You got any more? I go, yeah, here's another one because I'm sure you'll get burned again today.
Oh, my gosh. That is wonderful. I'm definitely going to go stock up. I got to get on 101.
Yes.
101.
101 Hemp. Yep. Go to 101hemp.org. It's Raw Renew.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And so here's the thing. The name of the show's Find It. And I always ask all my guests, what have you found? My gosh, you found it. That's for sure. But in your own words, first of all, do we have any other questions, Len? We went a little bit over, but I'm obsessed with what you have going on. And I'm just so proud of you and what you're doing. Thank you for all the information. Victoria says, oh, I'm starting to wrinkle. How can I get some? Victoria, I have seen your skin and you are not wrinkling, but I get it. Get ahead of it. Get ahead of it. Don't let them happen. Sold. Me too. But in your own words, what have you found in life that you can share with us so we can find it too?
Well, I think the overall theme here is that, people, what I have found is that we need to take control of our own health. We need to take responsibility for our own health. We need to take responsibility for our loved ones. We can't give it away to someone else. We can't shirk that responsibility. So I just implore you to trust your instincts, especially if you're dealing with a severe health issue for yourself or a loved one. Do your research. Look, we get into a car accident, we go get 3 estimates, right? Like insurance companies will make us do that, right? You get a severe health diagnosis and you go to the first person that gives you the diagnosis, and then you could find yourself in surgery the next day. No. Say, well, that's an interesting opinion. I want 2 more. You know what I mean? And talk to your doctor, talk to your health practitioner, talk to your chiropractor, talk to your, holistic healer, and understand like where are their beliefs and how the problem happened and what's the plan to get us out of this. So overall, what I'm saying is take control of your own health, do your own research, trust your instincts. And I promise you, if you start with drinking more good, clean water and eating right, food is our medicine. Whatever issue that you're facing, you'll be better. And look, if you're in great health, then awesome, and I'm not saying you should never have any cheesecake again. You should never have dessert. It's not what I'm saying. Everything in moderation. But what I'm saying is if you find yourself in a severe situation, take control of your health, take responsibility for it, get a team that's going to be on the same philosophy as you, and you will get yourself healthy again. Our body wants to heal. It's natural. Our body knows how to heal. Just make sure you're giving it what it needs.
Can I get an amen? Woo! I love it. You're amazing. Yes. Come on. And all that, man, that is a lot to process. But I think what I want to say to end this is everyone needs to just go to his website, read about it, look at the products. I would love to hear from you guys who are hearing this live or on replay. After you buy a product and try it out, let me know, because I just rolled this on my neck because I sit here and my neck feels good. I'm not even kidding. I'm not selling this. I'm not making anything off of it. It's just a fact, people. So wait a minute, Victoria, Justin, your product helped my son. Oh my gosh. That's amazing, Victoria. I remember your son very sick. Kelly Prater, thank you. Bob Donnell, love Justin. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Everybody, oh my gosh, praise God. We just got cleared on the seizures. Yay! That's so great. And I was on Grow Live when you were talking to Victoria about it, and she was in a bad way with her son, and well, another success story. So thank goodness.
Well, that's how the plant became so they couldn't keep the plant silenced. They couldn't hide it from us anymore because it was undeniably helping adults, children, pets with seizures, but children with seizures. And it was night and day. And the Western medicine did not, there you go then. And the Western medicine did not have a solution. They put them on Keppra. They put them on these crazy drugs that make them gain weight and become aggressive and turn into zombies, where you can just take a plant that you can grow in your backyard and the seizures either go away or severely reduced. And if you want them to go away, eat that miracle plant, that cold pressed whole plant, and get their food allergy test and eat the right foods. Stay away from the processed junk. Go find the stuff that comes out of the ground. That's organic. Stay away from the pesticides.
Stay away from that. Yeah. Julie Preston piped in and said, happy Hemp Day, which she was watching my social media. God love you. And I did send out some messages to some friends and say, it's Hemp Day. I mean, Hump Day or whatever.
Exactly.
So anyway, everybody, thank you all. Thanks, Sean. This was great information. I'm ordering. Thank you all for tuning in. We've had a steady group of people, and I am grateful to be given this information and to pass it on, and everyone can make your own educated decision. on what you want to do. And with that, I say it's a wrap, and it's a hemp day. So I'll see you all next week, same time, different guest, where we're going to find it. And in the meantime, I hope you find everything your little heart desires. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to today's show. To check out more great cannabis podcasts, go to PodConx.com. Here's a preview of one of our other shows.
Hi, y'all. I'm Jo, host of Casually Baked, the podcast. If you're curious to explore the highly responsible side of cannabis, farming, and legalization, I'm here to help lighten the stigma and build your canna confidence. Download episodes now of Casually Baked, the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And journey with me through the evolving cannabis culture and discover how and why people like you are adding cannabis to their wellness toolkit. It's time to get casually baked.